Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm going to share with you 14 more must-own RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. Let's check it out. Welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and I am so stoked to be diving even deeper into the must-own RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. This is part 2 of my series, just delving into the must-own RPGs. Now, these are the games that I think are just obvious games that every RPG fan would have fun with. There's a ton of depth and love to these series, and honestly, my first list of 23 was just everything that I loved, but since then, we've had more releases, and I've delved even deeper to kind of flesh out the variety of RPG that we can see here on today's list. Now, if there are any RPGs that you feel are still missing from this list and the previous one, please let everyone know down in the comments, and I have a third video planned for this series I can't wait to share. There was just too much to squeeze into this video. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, one series that has been underrated for far too long, but has finally broken its way into the gamer zeitgeist, is the Legend of Heroes series. Now, I have some caveats for the games on today's list, but I have to bring to your attention the Legend of Heroes Cold Steel 3 and 4. I think these are absolute must-own, must-plays on the contingency that you have played the first two. Now, I have heard from some that they firmly believe that you can hop into the third entry and it's a great place to start, so I'll leave that to your discretion. However, just here recently, we've had a phenomenal entry to start be localized to the West, and that is the Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero. This is a glorious game where you get to know these wonderful characters that span this deep world. And let me tell you, if you're a fan of character building, if you're a fan of vast worlds to get to know amazing lore and characters, the Legend of Heroes series is where it's at. And with Zero, Cold Steel 3 and 4 on the Switch, they are phenomenal entries to get lost in. Definitely check them out. Now, one game that is a must-own that hasn't received the love or praise it deserves is the Dragon's Dogma. This is a phenomenal RPG that blends aspects of like the Monster Hunter series along with what I kind of feel like a Dark Souls type feeling world. Fantastic action RPG gameplay mixed with just the ability to get lost for hours. I do need to warn you, time can melt away while you're playing this. Dragon's Dogma is an underrated game, but it does not change the fact it is a must-own RPG that I hope continues to gain in popularity and so many people can just fall in love with its unique world. Now, moving along, we have to hit some of the absolute classics that are on the Switch, and yes, that includes the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. There's not much I could say about this game that you haven't heard. It is, without question, one of the greatest single-player RPGs to be ever created. I'm a massive Elder Scrolls fan. Ever since I played Morrowind, I've never been able to look back. Elder Scrolls Skyrim is a living, breathing world, and every time I play it and revisit it, it feels like I'm discovering an old friend. Now, when you pick up this game, be warned. You might have like a 40 to 60 hour long main story, but there are hundreds and hundreds of hours of side quests that range from meeting trickster gods, coming across evil assassins. The depth to this game is mind-boggling. This is an excellent port to the Switch. I think that if you are looking to play Skyrim on the go, the Switch is no better place to do it, and it is absolutely a must-play for anyone who considers them a fan of RPGs. Now, showing a little bit more love to the Western RPG side, we have to cover Divinity Original Sin 2. If you are a fan of like Planescape Torment or like especially the Baldur's Gate games, Divinity Original Sin 2 is without question a must-own RPG. Friends of the channel and members of the Hallowed Be Thy Game team swear by this game. It is hailed as one of the best RPGs of all time. You can craft your own story. It has an amazing isometric look to it. The depth to gameplay and combat can honestly be staggering. It's fantastic. There is a lot of challenge to be had there for hardcore fans of RPGs with approachable difficulty in like a story mode. If you're looking for a game that has a vast amount of lore to be able to get lost in, and a deep, unique combat system that'll offer you an excellent amount of challenge, look no further than Divinity Original Sin 2. Now, if you're looking for some isometric games that are a little bit more approachable to newer fans of RPGs, I have to recommend to you Diablo 2 and 3. Now, Diablo 2 is definitely going to appeal more to someone like me, somebody who's maybe started playing RPGs in like the 90s, you were a big fan of Western RPGs on the PC. Diablo 2 is definitely retro RPGs at its finest. I freaking love Diablo 2. I cannot tell you how many dozens of hours I spent playing as a paladin and a barbarian, and now I'm coming back to it. I am loving necromancer gameplay, and that brings me to Diablo 3. If you're interested at all by Diablo dungeon crawling RPGs, Diablo 3 is a phenomenal entry point to newer fans of RPGs. The difficulty settings here are more than approachable, and the combat and gameplay is friggin' fun. Even though I don't really like where the base game of Diablo 3 took the lore, the Reaper of Souls expansion is friggin' a blast. And playing as the Necromancer in D3 is just so much friggin' fun. It just reminds me of all the fun I had playing Death Knights on World of Warcraft. Despite that, if you're looking for a great playing dungeon crawler on the Switch, Diablo 2 and 3 is definitely going to be worth your money. Now, hopping over to SRPGs, we have one of the newest games on today's list to come to the Switch, and that is Triangle Strategy. All of my friends who are mega into SRPGs, and even some who are even new to SRPGs that have played Triangle Strategy, have fallen absolutely in love with it. Big shout out to FemTruber and Devil May Pie. Triangle Strategies has an excellently crafted SRPG combat system to where if you're a fan of the old tactics version and you're looking kind of for a modern twist on that, Triangle Strategies is absolutely going to be for you. But if you're a fan of kind of political intrigue, countries of fighting and vying for power, those types of stories, this is absolutely the game for you. And so many people hail this as their game of the year. And with the glorious implementation of the Octopath HD 2D remake art style, this makes this as a game timeless. The soundtrack is fantastic, the character animations and the combat is solid. Definitely pick up Triangle Strategies if you're in the mood for an SRPG political intrigue story. It's absolutely going to hit that itch. Now, moving on, we have another phenomenal port to the Switch, and that is in Hades. Now, some people get really upset when there's ports of different games coming to the Switch. Heck, if it's a fantastic port, I don't care if it was on the Switch alone or not. And Hades is a prime example of that. Hades is the perfect game for the Switch. If you got about 20 to 30 minutes to play a game, look no further than Hades. It is a roguelike dungeon crawling isometric game that is in a league all of its own. This sets the bar for indie RPGs and takes it straight through the roof. The combat is so fluid. What I love about roguelites is when they can make me feel like I'm not wasting my time. And that is a fine line to walk, because if you've spent like 30 to 40 minutes trying to get through a run and you die early, you feel like you've completely wasted all your time. I can genuinely say Hades is the perfect game for you to try to give the roguelite genre a chance. Because with the progression systems that you have here, you never feel like you're wasting your time. The combat, to be able to try out the different weapons, is so fun. The bosses are fun and intriguing. Really, to get that true ending was one of the most enjoyable experiences I had. Hades is, without question, one of the greatest indie games to be ever made, and I believe it's one of the best RPGs on the Switch. Now, to hit another massive RPG that has come to the Switch is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I believe this absolutely doesn't really need an introduction. However, if you've never tried The Witcher 3 games, you should absolutely give it a shot on the Switch. The Witcher 3 kind of still stands as a marvel of modern technology. No one believed that The Witcher 3 could come to the Switch, as with a couple other games on today's list. However, it's proof that graphics don't make an incredible game. And even though there were some concessions being made with the graphical fidelity to get it on Switch, it runs fantastic. It's one of the greatest medieval fantasy worlds of the modern era to come to Switch. If you never heard of Witcher 3, but you're maybe a fan of Game of Thrones and you're looking for a great single-player action campaign to kind of sink your teeth into, you can get genuinely lost in this game. Witcher 3, definitely a must-play for Western RPG fans. Now, I have a very unique entry here, but nonetheless, I feel it is without question a must-own for any RPG fan on Switch, and that is Valkyria Chronicles 4. Don't be intimidated by the fact that there's a fourth entry here. There's nothing that's going to confuse you or hold you back. However, this is such an interesting take on a turn-based action RPG system where you're going to be moving your troops around a map. You'll have everything from tanks to machine gunners, snipers, and such like that, and you'll move them around and manually aim with your characters. It is such an addictive combat system. Maps are not going to take you an absurd amount of time to play, and even on the bigger maps, it's just so fun to be able to work and strategize out, to be able to progress your way through. The story setting is essentially an anime version of World War II during the darkest times in Europe. The stakes are higher than you could ever imagine. The feeling is absolutely oppressive at times, and the stories are so endearing. This game had me in the palm of its hand, and if you're somebody who's looking for fun, unique combat in an RPG, but also a dire character drama, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is near the top of the mountain. Now, coming up on the last two games of today's list, you all know I love my JRPGs. You all know how much I'm a fan of anime. However, I will say this. These two games are without question some of my favorite games of all time. Right off the bat, we have NieR Automata. NieR Automata will go down as one of the greatest RPGs ever made. You have this incredible mix-up between Platinum's god-tier action RPG combat. If you're just now playing Bayonetta 3 and you're falling in love with that, those are the same people who did the combat design for NieR. It is borderline flawless. I have so much freaking fun being able to fill out my character's loadout or operating system. But on top of that, you have peak Yoko Taro storytelling. Now, this game is very dire. There is very little to no light-hearted moments in this. If you're looking for a story that is going to push you and challenge you in your beliefs and in your thought processes, the way you view others in the world, NieR Automata is where it's at. And on top of that, you have one of the greatest soundtracks to ever come. My wife, who's not mega into gaming, will listen to the NieR soundtrack. It's fantastic. If you call yourself a fan of action RPGs and such like that, you have to play NieR Automata. It's essentially mandatory gaming for me. I cannot recommend it enough. Phenomenal game. Now, the last game on today's list should come as no shock to any fans of the channel. For all the praises I've given to the NieR Automata soundtrack, I'm going to do it just as much for Persona 5 Royal. It is peak turn-based RPG gameplay for me in every way, shape, or form. This game drips with style. And for everybody who shows up in the comments and says, like, the Switch is trash, it's a trash console, it's weak, this or that, look, we all know the Switch isn't as powerful as even the PS4 Pro or anything like that. However, these games are running on Switch and they're fan-freaking-tastic. They are excellent ports. So whether Atlus or Square has made some dark pact with the devil along with CD Projekt Red to get these games to run on Switch or not, they're fantastic ports. They run incredible and they are absolutely peak RPG gameplay. In Persona 5, you're going to be playing as these high school students who stumble across the metaverse and they find they're able to change the hearts of extremely wicked and bad people by infiltrating their mind palace of sorts to be able to steal their treasure and change their hearts. This is iconic to a T. The UI, fantastic. The characters, beyond lovable. The memes from this game, good God, the memes. I freaking love Persona 5 Royal. It is without question in my top 5 favorite games of all time, and it is easily one of the greatest RPGs on the Switch. A must-own, must-play. Please, if you haven't played it, stop watching this video and go do so. And there you have it. There are 14 more must-own RPGs. Yes, there are a ton more. I've already mentioned 23 in my previous video, and I have even more planned for my next one. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see your recommendations down in the comments. I always learn from the community in this. I always find these incredible hidden gems, so thank you all so much for sharing. I want to give a massive thank you to the channel members and patrons. Your support, it really keeps me going sometimes. I just thank you all so much for the kind words. I love interacting with you all in the comments. Like this video if you like it, and subscribe for more Switch RPG content. And until then, I'll see you all next time.